She is award-winning jazz vocalist, one of the best voices in the business. Her music is swinging, joyful, and colorful. She performed everywhere, from O2 arenas to jazz clubs in New York.
Bonjour, croissant.
Today is my dream day, and don't wake me up, please, unless you would like to join me and meet someone very special. So I wanted to show you one of my favorite places in Paris, Jardin du Luxembourg. It's on the 6th arrondissement in Saint-Germain. It's my peaceful place. Someone said she sings with a facility that many singers twice her age would kill for. To me, she sings about IKEA instructions, and I will still think she sings about the most beautiful love song.
That's my next album.
Emma Smith. How are you?
That was such a lovely introduction, and wow.
I try my best.
That was beautiful, thank you. I'm glad that we've got that documented so that I can write it down and send it to everyone for shows, website information.
Have you been ever in Paris, or is it just your first time when you're here?
No, I mean, being in London, it's obligatory to come to Paris as much as possible. We have the Eurostar. I mean, it's such a blessing. I remember coming with my mother and father and my little brother, and I must have been about 10, and having French onion soup for the first time and being mind blown because I thought soup was this like boring grown-up food, and my dad was like, you have to try it. And it was cheesy and stretchy and carbohydraty, and I remember being like, French soup is so good. Yeah. We're used to a can of Heinz tomato soup. So I really remember that. And I also believe that we had our portrait, so touristic, we had our portrait drawn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But they still do it.
They still do it. They're going strong.
Where were you born? Where did you grow up?
I was born in an awful part of the world. I hope no one is listening who's from Luton, but I was born in Luton. It's most famous for having an airport, which is called London Luton Airport, but everybody in London rolls their eyes because it's not in London. It's actually in Bedfordshire, which is one of the surrounding counties. My parents are musicians, and they, my mum is from a rough part of East London called Romford, and my dad's from Barkingside, West Ham, which is also a renownedly it's just quite a rough part of town. And they worked really, really hard to save up enough money to buy a small house in a place called Harpenden, which is just on the outskirts of London, and they had really, really good schools. And I'm really grateful for that now as an adult. And at the time, I hated school so much that I didn't have any gratitude or any understanding or appreciation for how hard my parents had to work as two freelance musicians, because it was a lot of corporate people that lived there. And it was on a great train line that got you straight into the heart of London. And so it was a lot of business people. And my mum's a sax player, my dad's a trumpet player, pianist and orchestrator. And my God, when I hear the stories of them, taking on there's the Hilton Hotel in London. And I think one winter they played every single day they were playing for just guests in the hotel because my mum was pregnant with me, and they were trying to save money to have us grow up somewhere that was nicer than where they grew up.
So the music was from the very early stage at home. You had music at home, you grew up with the music. But who inspired you the most, or who gave you the sparkle, for the music?
I used to really resent my parents for being musicians. So I didn't find my parents inspiring, I found them annoying, because every weekend they would be out doing shows and I wouldn't get to do any of the normal kid stuff, like go to the playpen with my parents or go to the community fete. And instead I would always be with my grandparents, whilst they went out and made money. And I just found that really upsetting as a spoiled young child. But my grandfather, I learned to respect them later, but my grandfather was the biggest influence early on. He was a trombone player, hence this tattoo here. And he played the trombone with major superstars like Barbra Streisand and Shirley Bassey, Oscar Peterson, Tubby Hayes, Tony Bennett, Tom Jones, Sammy Davis Jr., like really like the creme de la creme of the music that I am obsessed with. And who knows whether it was his influence on me or whether my obsession with that music that made him so important and integral to my development. But it happened. And actually my grandfather's sort of the pinnacle of his career was spending 20 years on the road with Frank Sinatra.
Were you had a chance to be on backstage?
No, I wasn't born. I wasn't born, but I think Frank Sinatra passed away before I was born.
Not with Frank Sinatra, but any other artists that you mentioned?
I don't remember. My childhood's a little bit of a blur, but I do remember hearing my granddad practice the trombone every single day, morning and then night. And if he had a show, it would be warm-ups. And I can hear it. It's like, doo-dee, da-dee, da-dee, ha-hee. And he'd go all the way until the end of the trombone, and then he'd be, da-be-be-be, la-da-dee-dee. Like, I would never unknow that soundtrack of my childhood. But what it taught me was, even though he had these accolades and this crazy CV, he practiced every single day. And his narrative was, you're only as good as your last gig. And so do not drop the ball. Do not rest on your laurels, because some other whiz kid who is more dedicated to practice and growth within their instrument and their musical genre will come and snap up your spot, you know?
Do you still remember these words? Still
Yeah.
now?
My granddad was also quite tyrannical. He had a nickname that was quite damning in the industry. They called him the Rottweiler.
Who gave him this nickname?
Maybe he did, I don't know. But certainly that's what he was known as by the musicians, because he went on to have his own big band, which is where I cut my teeth. The big band was called the String of Pearls Orchestra.
Yes, the Glenn Miller one.
Yeah.
Yes, and you were 14 years old.
I was.
Like, explain me this, and 14 years old.
14 years old.
Girl
Oh my
already
gosh.
joining the big orchestra. And
Yeah, and you know what was crazy about it is that you had one very small speaker on the floor to hear yourself with a 22-piece big band with trumpets, trombones, saxophones, drums, guitars, percussion, piano, you know. That's all you had. And my grandfather was like, you need to learn. He's from the East End. Although he had some Sicilian influence, which perhaps amounts to the Rottweiler name. But he would say, you need to learn how to feel the vibration of what you're singing. Your instrument is inside. You need to be able to quantify whether you are singing in tune or not by a feeling, which is really great advice in many ways, and it's impractical when you're untrained. So I had a lot of voice problems, and I think part of that is due to singing with big bands.
did anyone at home taught you about the emotions, talking about love, life? How is that part with you?
I think no. My father said to me recently that he sees the same fiery, passionate, ambitious, committed, directional woman, that streak that he sees in me today. He said that he saw it when I was like 3. And he says that that's very interesting because it must have been hard to parent a child like that. So I do have some, I have some space and some tolerance and empathy for how challenging that must have been, because I was incredibly headstrong. I was just a little woman. I was like, you can't tell me what to do. because I'm a person. And also, if you do tell me what to do, I need to know an explanation as to why. I need to be able to qualify your direction and your discipline with understanding. And that was really not of the era. So I guess what I'm intimating here is that I did have a challenging childhood, and me and my father particularly, we really rubbed each other like this. And I was emotional, and I would hold my tears in. And I would bite my tongue, because when I would fight with my father, I didn't want to give him the, and I still see it in myself now, I don't want to give the person who I'm arguing with, or something, you know, whether it's a boyfriend or whatever, a club owner. I don't want, there's a part of me that doesn't want to show that vulnerability, to feel like they've won. Like to feel like my tears or my emotion to crack it open is like too precious or too valuable. And I wasn't taught about it. I wasn't really given permission to allow that out when I was younger. So now I have to kind of reparent that part of me to soothe that inner child, to say it's okay to show emotion and it's okay to be vulnerable, even in the face of someone's fury or someone's rage. It's really challenging. And as I mentioned about my grandfather, you know, jokingly that his name was the Rottweiler, it's not so much a joke, because that was the energy I was around. I was around like hardcore, like you walk on eggshells around a man that has a temper that short. So I've learned how to be a malleable person, that I don't want to, you know, I like to people please, but I also have, you know, goals and intentions that I'm unwavering on. And it's hard being in relation with other humans, in a nutshell.
Yeah. Is there any part of your childhood still in your music?
Absolutely. I mean, everything I do on stage is for the young version of me. Yeah, it's quite emotional to talk about it, actually. Glasses on. No. Because as a young girl, I guess, you know, my parents being on the road a lot, and now I understand why they did that, but it was still challenging to have that lack of kind of classic parental, sort of that dreamy childhood. Didn't have that, and then I had the kind of boot camp style parenting from my grandfather, who was like straight from day, you know, 14 years old with the big band, learning to, I was doing trombone warm-ups from the age of 14 on my voice, because that's what Frank Sinatra did, etc. But as a child, I dreamt of big stages, and I dreamt of vast validation and love from masses, you know, like I wanted to be a pop star, like desperately wanted to be a pop star. I went to the library and I took a book, and it was like, it was called like A&R, which is, you know, the part of the record label that would like discover the artist. So the A&R person at like a record label will go to a show and say, you're gonna sign you to my record label. And that was my dream. And it's interesting because I didn't know what genre I wanted to do. I didn't know it was jazz then. All I cared about was, I loved to sing, of course. Let's just be clear about that. I wasn't like fame hungry just for the sake of fame, but you know, there was a part of me that just desperately wanted to be on stage and loved and adored by people and clapped and appreciated and told that I moved them, and be able to see on the faces of people that I was making an impact and seeing them smile, holding the hand of their loved one. And I wanted that from the age of like 4.
That was my question.
Yeah,
yes.
I had that book, which had basically, it definitely wouldn't be legal now. It had all the names and like addresses that you could post your demo tapes to the record label. And I was taking it from the library, and then I took my notebook. I was maybe 12, and I wrote down all the names of these people, because I had to give the book back to the library.
Yeah.
So that you know, now we'd take a photo, or now we'd get it online, or we'd put it into ChatGPT or whatever, print it out. I mean, it wouldn't even be addresses, it would be email addresses. That was the dedication that I had then. and I still have it now. And I feel like I hold the hand of that young girl, and that is one of the reasons why I have immense, like, physical feeling of gratitude every time I step on the stage, every time I get to choose what outfit I wear, every time I sing a song that I composed or that I've arranged from the Great American Songbook, and people roar with applause. I feel that part of me just glowing inside and being like, we did it, we're doing it. Like, it's
But yeah, 4 years old. But how did you decide to sing? When, actually? Like, how that happened? Someone told you you're good at singing, or you just like, this is it. I'm 7 years old. I decide to go to some music school.
I honestly don't know. I mean, I didn't go to music school until I was 16. But my auntie, my dad's sister, told me that, they'd be on gigs and I would be with my grandmother running around singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. That's what she said she remembered. And she remembers that as a 4-year-old, I was able to sing this big octave, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and like really accurately. And my aunt, she was in the West End. She was in, West Side Story and many, many musicals. And she saw that, and I think she really encouraged me to sing. I don't remember though. It's a blurry childhood. I saw a trombone player the other day on a show I was doing in Italy, literally last week, and he was my auntie's boyfriend when they were 20, and now they're in their 50s. This is the beauty of music, like this incestual kind of musical family. And he said, the last time I saw you, you were 4 years old, running around your grandmother's house singing I'm the King of the Swingers. And then we did a show together in Torino with the Blue Note Milano Festival in Turin.
Yes.
And he was like, wow, you did that then and now you're doing this now,
Yes. I got confused because one of your pictures, you actually have a pictures of yourself with the saxophone.
Yeah.
So
that's my mother's saxophone.
Okay.
Yeah, my mother's saxophone. And
what did you sing occasionally on a Christmas events and with your family? Is there any song that you sang?
Don't Sit Under the Apple Tree.
Yes. Would you sing a little bit?
Yeah, of course. I actually did it on I released it recently, and my parents came to watch a show, which is very rare, and I brought them on stage and we sang it in 3-part harmony, but it was close to Christmas, so my dad went, don't sit under the Christmas tree with anyone else but me. It sounds really weird singing it in July. Anyone else but me. So I'll go back to Apple Tree. Anyone else but me. No, 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 don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me till I come marching home. Do-do-do, pew! The thing about being from a musical family that are musicians is that people don't really want you to be a singer. I mean, maybe I'm speaking a little bit too general here, but there is a sense of, musicians are musicians and singers are singers. So for me, I had this drive to be a singer who was a musician that used my voice to be my instrument. And that's why I got into the jazz thing, the scat singing, the improvising, learning about the chord changes, being able to sing with freedom and musicality to manipulate the melodies that were composed by the Gershwins and the Cole Porters in my own unique way. Mm-hmm. And the storytelling came later, when I finally accepted, okay, Emma, you're a singer. You're not playing the trumpet. You're not playing the saxophone. You have words. Let's tell some stories as well.
And at age 15, you actually followed your father's footsteps and you joined the Youth Jazz National Orchestra.
National Youth Jazz Orchestra.
Exactly, thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there is a story with some foundation. I don't know if I can spell it right. Cleo Lane in London. Do you want to say something about it?
So Cleo Lane is a Dame Cleo Lane. It's like the highest award you can get from the royal family in England. And Cleo Lane is one of the most amazing jazz singers ever. And why I love Cleo, is that she was also an actress. She was like the Lady Gaga of her day. And she broke America, which is so rare for a British musician, jazz musician, to break America. And that's really like my big dream. My big dream. That's next on the list. Watch out, America.
It's coming. Emma is coming.
And Cleo Lane and her husband, John Dankworth, who is a very famous saxophonist, Sir John Dankworth, who passed away, they sponsored my... my education.
Scholarship, yes.
Yeah, and I also went to, when I was 16, around the same time, I was accepted at this glorious school called the Purcell School of Music.
Where was it? In Bush?
It's in North London, in
Bushy.
Bushy. Yeah,
I didn't know how to spell it. Bushy.
Bushey.
Yes, this is very important because
Yeah.
you learned there the improvisation, right?
That's when I started, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I started to learn about
And-
scatting and stuff there.
And you were the first first ever jazz vocalist
That's
to do
right.
so?
I was
How
the
is
first
that
ever
possible?
Well,
Yes.
it's a classical music school.
Okay.
So, and it's renowned. It's absolutely, one of the most sought after schools to go to as a young musician. They accept children from the age of 7, all the way up until 18. And I went there at the age of 16. I did my last 2 years of education there. And I really hated school until this moment. And my father, understandably, having a relatively challenging time making money, making a living out of music, he was like, Emma, you have a brain. Please be a lawyer. Please be a lawyer. Be anything but a jazz singer. And I was like, I'm doing it. I knew that I would, I had a confidence that I would be successful and I would make something of myself. So I wanted to put his mind at ease, but he was going, no, you need to go to Luton Sixth Form College and study law. And then I was sort of like, well, let me just try this prestigious music school. And it's expensive. And we didn't have any money. They were certainly not going to pay for an education in jazz singing. My dad was like, that's insane. You can learn that from like books and records. And he's not wrong. But I got accepted there. And I was the first ever jazz vocalist to go. And they gave me a full scholarship. And the best thing about it for me was not the amazing music education. It was the fact that I was living there. It was a boarding school. And that was 16 years old, my first taste of stepping into the shoes of the adult that I had felt like since I was 4 years old. So I had my own room and I lived in a boarding house with all the other girls. I lived next door to a Maltese harpist and then a Korean violinist and like a Baroque, specialist musician. And it was amazing, and everyone was from all over the world. My best friend was a Russian classical pianist, Evelyn Berezovsky, whose father is a world-famous pianist, Boris Berezovsky. And I started to go to concerts with them, and my mind, I feel emotional talking about it because I just belonged there and I was accepted and my mind was blown daily, and I was meeting people from all different cultures who shared a passion and a commitment and an ambition to be the best musician. And I was like, finally, I'm with my people. And those 2 years were transformative for me. Yeah, I'm so grateful. I always describe it like, have you seen Harry Potter?
Yes.
Okay, it's basically Hogwarts.
Okay.
But like, instead of wands, we have flutes and batons to conduct. And it is as magical as Hogwarts. It's more magical than Hogwarts. We have music.
2 years you spent there.
I would do it. Like, if you said to me now, I would go again.
Go again.
I would do it. And when I was there, they were like, let's do your grade 5 theory. I never did any exams, so did my theory. I did classical singing. I did my grade 8. I'd never done any grades, and then grade 8 classical singing. And then I did a diploma in musical theatre. So I was just, it's very on brand for me. Every opportunity they threw at me, I just said yes. And I just sucked it up, and I just did what I could with it. Because it was an immersion. Finally, in the thing I loved more than anything.
And from there, you went to local Academy of Music in London? Or was
The Royal
it
Academy of Music,
Royal
yeah.
Academy, yes.
So there's like 3 musical conservatoires. There's 4 in London. There's the Royal College of Music, which is all classical. Then there's the Royal Academy of Music, which is mainly classical, and they have a very small jazz department, which is, it's incredibly prestigious, and they accept, sometimes they only accept 4 people per year. I was in a class of 6 or 7 people, and they rarely accept singers. Me and my very good friend Quabs, who's a really killing jazz vocalist in general, We were the first singers to go there in like 12 years. They hadn't had a singer. So when we got accepted on that course, they were like, okay, help us, like, who's going to teach you? Because they didn't have any department for vocals. So they were like, what do you want to do? And I just wanted to learn with instrumentalists. So I studied with Stan Saltzman and Mike Walker and Nikki Isles, amazing pianist who's now conducting with the WDR big band in Germany, and Pete Churchill. And I did have some vocal lessons like with Norma Winston, who is a very iconic British vocalist. And then for theory, for vocal technique, I was in and out, seeking a teacher that I really gelled with. Still looking for that.
Amazing.
Vocal theory, vocal technique is so crazy because you can't really see what you're doing. It's so feeling led, Breath is something that we do from the moment we're born. So trying to then control it and manipulate it to support great vocal sound production, it's like relearning how to walk. We don't think about it. So I've really struggled with trying to find a good technique teacher. Anyway, so many tangents.
Yeah. And is it easier for you to express emotions through music, lyrics? You're as well a composer.
When I sing, whether it's my own music or others that I'm deeply connected to, it helps me to unlock, just that slight shift. I think when you sing, it's such an organic thing. It's such a human thing and it makes you really vulnerable when you're like, like when you sing, sometimes people are like, oh my God, nervous about singing or whatever. And there is something about that it drops a barrier, and it unlocks a little more truth and honesty. It helps me to access some bigger feelings.
You said that you discovered jazz quite late.
Yeah, considering my family are all jazz musicians, they really didn't want me to go into this field. Now they're super happy and super proud, but they really didn't want me to go into it. So I guess they just let me do my own thing, and I found it through my grandfather would influence me with the Sinatra obsession.
Did you learn anything about from jazz? Not as a musician, but anything in life through jazz?
Well, the very nature of the music is improvised, isn't it? And the very nature of being a human is winging it, making it up. For a jazz musician, I think I'm quite a control freak, which is ironic considering you have no control over what happens, when a set of chord changes are underneath you and you're going to do a solo. It's like, it's the antithesis of control. It's freedom, and it's scary, and it's intimidating, and it makes you very vulnerable to being judged and making mistakes or whatever. I was teaching for a period, and students would ask me like, I can't improvise, I can't do it, I don't know how to start improvising. I'm so scared to do that in front of other musicians. And it's a real thing for vocalists to improvise. Because, unless you have perfect pitch, like that if I sing la, it's a F or whatever. I've not got perfect pitch, so I don't know what note that was.
I don't know either, so...
when you have a piano in front of you, you can learn how to play this particular phrase, and then you can insert that over the particular chords. That's called learning licks, and inserting licks into certain. Of course, they improvise. I'm not trying to take away anything from musicians who are playing instruments with buttons. But when you're singing, it's inside, and so you have to feel the chord. You have to feel where the sharp 11 sits in relation to the tonic, in order to be able to accurately choose it, because you're not pressing a button, and so that makes improvising very scary. And you have to almost learn the music in such a deep way to be able to sort of freely and just freely improvise. So discovering. So what I learned from jazz is the contradiction between control and preparation and practice, and improvisation, freedom and fear. They are one and the same, and they all exist in jazz music. And I guess I haven't quite learned how to be as free in life. A healing sound for me, if I'm anxious or if I'm charged, Joao Gilberto, the album Amoroso, with the beautiful strings, and he goes, "It's wonderful, it's marvelous." I'm doing my impression of him. I hope no one's offended. "You should care for me." And it's like singing in this like whisper tone, and it's like a little bit out of tune, but in the most delicious Brazilian way.
I agree.
I actually need to hear that right now. Can we like cut and play like a few
play
seconds?
it, yes. Yes, let's cut it. Do you see the guy? It's so delicious. If your music were a letter to yourself, what would it say?
It would say, "You're on the right track. What you do is of value in the world. Don't give up." It's so cliche. Don't give up. Be grateful. Show up with wholehearted sincerity and commitment every night. And it would also say, "This audience have paid their hard-earned money to come and see you, so give them a damn good show."
If your life were a melody, where would you be right now? In the intro, in the chorus, in the bridge, or the silence after the final note?
The beginning of the chorus. The beginning of the rise to the climax.
I like that.
Yeah. I feel like the intro has been the years of hard work, personal growth, musical growth, study, commitment, all the foundational work, a million emails.